Hey everybody, I'm here with Nicholas Frazier. Nicholas has got an unbelievable story to tell today. I'm speechless after hearing what the story is. I'm going to turn it over to Nicholas and let him start telling that story, and you can follow along. Go ahead, Nicholas. Tell us who you are, tell us where you live, and tell us what happened.
Gotcha. So my name's Nicholas Frazier. I live in Chiefland, Florida. Uh, Own a mobile welding and repair business, Frazier Welding and Repair. Hog hunting is something I do on the side. I try to help some of these landowners and ranchers that I meet along my welding journey, as being something that I enjoy doing, something I try to help them out with as they have problems. And that's pretty much where I'm at, even on the property that I was hunting last night, where the incident had occurred at.
So, so you were out hog hunting.
Yes, sir. So me and a good friend of mine, Michael Lopez, um, we had met up I'd say about 6:30 last night, and we planned on doing a little dog hunt. And I do a lot of trapping in there as well. And some of these hogs have just kind of gotten smart, trap smart. So the only other way to get them, to me is dog wise. Unfortunately, where we're at there, we're not able to have firearms and shoot the hogs uh, per landowner. So yeah, we showed up. Like I said, about 6:30, we met up there. Um, and I'd say it was probably about 7 o'clock by the time we got everything collared up and got on the dirt road there. And we turned loose, and in this particular area, the hogs are pretty heavy in there, and they stay in there quite often. So we kind of knew right off rip we was going to get on something pretty quick. Um, and also going to this area, we try to take a couple dogs that are going to catch him and stop him, before he is able to leave a property, because there obviously is property lines.
Right. Now, when we were talking on the phone earlier, you told me you're hunting about 1,000 acres
Yes, sir.
and you're doing it with landowner permission
Yes, sir.
and you're doing it respecting the landowner's wishes.
100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you were telling me that your dog struck and started running. Take us from there.
So right off the rip, Michael had brought a dog he hadn't previously brought, but was one of the better ones of his dogs that he's got. And right off the rip, all the dogs ended up jumping hogs. I'm guessing we run into a rally, and they tried to split up. We had 2 or 3 dogs kind of off to our left, and we was watching the dog as it was headed towards the property line. And I'd already let him know, that this particular property line is the only landowner I do not have their phone number for. We've been unable to get the man's phone number. We've been hunting this lot about 2 years now, so I've met everybody around there. I mean, I've had multiple instances where I've had to text or call landowners a little later in the night, let them know that my dogs were on their property, and it's always been go ahead and go get them, or hey, we'll meet you around there. We'll run in there and grab them with you. And if he's got it caught, then cool. We'll have a little hog hunt experience while we're at it. And so everybody around there is honestly really good people. I guess
So,
unless this one
so
guy,
you're
yeah.
so you're hunting 1,000 acres with permission. You've got good relationships with the landowners around there. There's one person that you don't know how to contact.
Yes, sir.
That's what you just said, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's been the only one we haven't been able to contact or have a run-in with yet, that we were able to share information and introduce ourselves, and explain why we were out there and what we were doing out there.
all right. So and you're telling me that you have called other landowners and said, "Hey, our dogs have got across the property line on us," and most of them are like, "Yeah, go ahead and get them," and some of them are like, "Hey, we're going to come hunt with you."
Yes, sir. And we have had, I think, 2 out of the 8 who wanted to go in there with us, and which is perfectly fine with me, and they wanted to kind of get a little experience out of it while they were into it. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it kind of gave us a chance to build that relationship up with them as well. Um, and maybe, get a future call from them also, when they're having troubles. So this is a little bit later in the night here. I actually hadn't contacted FWC when the incident had first happened. I actually called the Levy County Sheriff's Department.
If I understand correctly, the person shot your dog and then he shot at you.
Yes, sir. So our dog had crossed the property line. So we got an update rate on our GPS of 5 seconds with the dogs. So every 5 seconds, it tells us exactly where the dog's at and how far they are. Well, during a race, and a lot of dog owners or dog hunters can relate to this, during a race, 5 seconds is a little bit of time, enough for a dog to move pretty quick, especially when he's chasing an animal, whether it is a deer or a hog or whatever it is. So during that little 5 seconds, we kind of seen him headed to the property line. The other 3 dogs, like I said, had kind of split to the left. So we were thinking that's what was going to happen, and we were going to be okay. By the time that the Garmin had updated, the dog had crossed the property line. And so I told Michael, I said, go ahead and tone her. And obviously as hunters, they're doing their job, and we hate to do that to them, to pull them out of a situation like that. But it is in our property, and we understand that we don't have permission to be there, and neither do the dogs. So we toned her. Unfortunately, she didn't turn right around, so we ended up having to shock her. And when we did, she immediately did a 180 and started back trailing to us. And when she did the 180, I'd say it was probably a good 20 seconds after that, that she was headed back, which was really a relief on our end. I was kind of like, heck yeah, like, thank the Lord she's coming back. We don't have nothing to worry about. We heard 9 shots go off, in a pretty, yeah, yes, sir, not 9 of them. Assumption here, we're thinking it was a pistol, and that's just from my, experience in the outdoors and around firearms. But about the 4th or 5th shot, we heard her squall, and by the time he had done shooting, it was probably another 45 seconds to a minute that the caller had completely just shut off and went question mark on us. So at that time, we weren't able to see what was happening with her or where she was at, or all we had was that last location of her, which was on this man's property, about, I'd say, 250 yards probably.
So how long had you been out there hunting before this happened? How long had you been out there?
We were actually had just started. I'd say the gunshots had started about 7:20, and we had started the hunt, I want to say, about 7 o'clock. Like I said, it was pretty quick when we did turn them out of the box, that they got on some hogs, and which we're guessing was a rally, the way the dogs had split. And so it was fairly quick.
And what time is it this happened? It was still daylight, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Still daylight. Yes, sir.
So tell me about the part where you started taking incoming fire.
So as soon as the dog was shot and it went question mark, I immediately called Levy County Sheriff's Department, and got an operator on the phone, and was explaining to her what was happening and where we were at. And we heard a 4-wheeler crank up and start headed towards us. So Michael's idea was he was going to go to the gate, the man's gate, that was probably another 150 yards in front of us. And he was going to go see what in the heck was going on and why the man had just shot his dog. And in my sense, it wasn't a good idea, being that we weren't equipped with any kind of firearm or anything really to defend ourselves. And the man shooting our dog just then, I couldn't comprehend it. So to me, he wasn't in his right mind, and it wasn't a good time to be confronting somebody. It was a time to wait on law enforcement to get there and then confront the situation with them.
So you
Uh,
were unarmed. I just want
yes,
to go
sir.
over that. You were unarmed.
Yes, sir.
You were on property that you had right to be on.
Sir.
You didn't cross the property line onto his property.
No, sir. And that was confirmed by FWC when they did show up and look at our garments. Yes, sir.
How many rounds were fired at you?
So when he come around the corner on the four wheeler, um, we had kind of made our way towards the gate. Right after he had shot in the dog, of course, we hollered to him, that, hey, there is people in the woods. We are calling the dog. What in the heck are you thinking? Just, trying to let him know, hey, we're here. And obviously not to be shooting in our direction. I mean, that's when the four wheeler headed our way. There was 3 rounds that got shot off pretty soon after that. And there was pellets flying by us hitting the pine trees that we were standing next to. I immediately dropped and hit the ground. And at this time, again, I'm on the phone with the 911 operator. Michael turned around and started running. Pretty much right following that, we had another 3 shots that not sure really were directed at us, but that were fired off as well. That time we just happened to not hear pellets. So maybe he was shooting a different direction or just trying to find us with the. I'm not really sure what in the heck he was thinking, to be honest with you. So as I'm on the phone with the operator, I explained what happened. I'm pretty sure she had heard the gunshots herself. We had started running back towards the road, of course, to get away from the line of fire and try to find a safe place to where I could talk to her and kind of lead deputies to where we were at.
So you started taking incoming fire. Pellets are hitting the trees around you, and you're on the phone with 911 while all this is happening.
Yes, sir.
How long did it take the deputies to get there?
I want to say anywhere from about 15 to 20 minutes.
So for 15 to 20 minutes, you were unarmed in the woods at the mercy of somebody that had been shooting at you.
And honestly, it felt like we were being hunted at that time, to be honest with you. It was unthinkable. I mean, I'm really not really processed the whole ordeal yet.
It's terrible. So do you think, did he cross the property line in your direction? That's a question I've got.
That is a good question, and we aren't sure of that. I wasn't going to stick around long enough to watch him, or I wasn't trying to even see the man. I didn't want him to see me. You know,
I can
obviously,
imagine you didn't want
fear for my
somebody
life.
been shooting at you to actually put eyes on you. That wouldn't be a good thing.
No, sir.
So the sheriff's department responded, and what did they do?
They were so right off from the beginning, they wanted to go back to the scene of where it had happened, and I guess maybe try to confront the guy. So they had me lead them back. I had to meet them out on the main road, let them back down the trail that we were on. They went back, tried to locate the landowner or whoever was on the property at the time. And I do want to say this. Now, this property is completely barbed wired off with gates and locks. So this is maybe it was somebody trespassing. You had to have permission to be on this property to have a four wheeler in here. Number one. So the man was obviously supposed to be there. We don't know who it was. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the landowner, because we are unsure at the time.
I just brought up a picture of the gate. So just want people to sort of understand what they're looking at here. Tell them what we're looking at.
Yes, sir. So right after that, after I took them down the trail there, they wanted to know exactly where the man lived, obviously, and make contact with him. We checked out some map footage and found that this was his driveway here. So we kind of followed them up there. Right there in the picture, There's actually a camera on the pine tree to the left with a red ring glowing around it, as in somebody was watching us at that time, right then. And they were trying to get a hold of a landowner, which we were unable to do. We were actually unable to find a phone number, period, for anybody that was supposed to be there.
Do you know if do you know if the camera had communication ability? Were they able to talk back and forth with the person, or?
Not that I know of, no, sir. It kind of did look like an older camera, maybe. But we know that it was recording it, and somebody had gotten notified at least that we were there, or that law enforcement was there.
Did the sheriff's department tell you why they didn't enter the property?
So we had a sergeant kind of explain to us that, the man was armed, obviously. They gave us a explanation of he didn't feel safe putting his officers in danger. Number one. Number two, they didn't want to enter the property without a warrant that they needed. And I was really unsure on why they couldn't obtain that or why they couldn't enter the property. So shortly after that picture, actually, they come to us and explained to us the situation and pretty much told us that they would try again in the morning. And to me and Michael, this wasn't something that needed to wait until morning or even try to even blow over for another minute. So that's when we actually contacted FWC ourselves while we're sitting in the truck right there in that picture. We called the main office of FWC out of Jacksonville, and they directed us some units coming from Inglis.
Right. Well, I kind of understand not entering without a warrant. There is a doctrine called exigent circumstances where you can enter a property without a warrant, but the courts look at that as an unlawful entry, and you have to justify why you did it. Whereas with a warrant, you've got a signature from a judge saying, yeah, you can go in and search. So it would be best to have a warrant. Whether or not they could obtain one in the night like that, I don't know, but it's
Sure.
always to have a search warrant, because it would be a shame to go in and collect your evidence and then have it all thrown out because it's fruit of the
Absolutely.
poisonous tree. So I understand that. My time working for Uncle Sam sort of taught me a little bit about that, but I sort of understand that. But I am curious as to why they sort of stopped at the gate and abandoned it, which I guess we'll find all that out, because the interesting thing, they're wearing body cameras, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Every officer that showed up to the scene had a body camera on, and it was rolling. So
They're all
that
wearing
is,
body cameras. You called 911. We'll get those records. We'll find out
yes,
what.
sir. I guess back to the FWC truck maybe would be the next kind of scene there. So the deputies had left, and FWC was on en
That's
route
the gate.
to us.
That's the gate, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, FWC truck.
Yes, sir. So I sat at the end of the road just kind of like I did on the deputies, and I waited. I want to say another 15 or 20 minutes. Now by this time, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. Before them deputies had left, and we tried to make contact, and they kind of did their investigation. So they show up about 11 o'clock at night. We take them down the same trail we took the deputies down. We showed them where we were standing at, where we could only assume he was on the four wheeler, and kind of just explain to them the situation and what had happened. And they then crossed his property line, and they went in there looking for their own evidence, obviously, and found whatever they found.
Was FWC wearing body cameras?
They were. Unfortunately, one of them did have to borrow a flashlight. So that's the only negative thing I can say about them. I've got a pet peeve about people borrowing my flashlights, but I let it slide for the night. And they understood how serious it was, and I feel like they're treating it as serious as they need to treat it. But then again, you know, I'm not a law enforcement officer, so I don't know their due process on how they do things.
Well, I will tell you that they don't do a lot of talking about stuff while they're in the investigation stage like this, and then their public information officer decides what gets told. And that's something that people don't understand when they watch these videos and read about these cases online. It takes just a split second for somebody to harm a dog. And then justice is very slow coming. Sometimes it takes years. Years. We had a similar situation where a dog was shot in Tennessee. The dog never entered onto the man's property, and the guy shot the dog in the public road. He got convicted of 2 felonies and ordered to pay restitution. The shooter really thought he was in the right. Up until today, I still think he thinks he's in the right, even though he's a convicted felon. So it takes, like I said, sometimes years for justice to come. It comes so slowly. So what are we looking at in this picture here?
So this is pretty much immediately as soon as we had let the dogs out, I had taken a picture there, and actually, we ran up on a little corn snake in the trail I took a picture of also right after this. And this is not even 10 or 15 minutes before, I don't even know what to call it, before he did what he did. Like I said, I'm still kind of shook up about the incident. I hadn't really had time to really process what had happened.
Well, I imagine you are. I mean, shooting a dog is one thing, but it sounds like to me he was shooting at people. If you were taking incoming fire and pellets were hitting the trees behind you, at very least, I see that as assault with a deadly weapon. And I would dare say it's with intent to kill. It doesn't sound like small change. Anybody shooting at me, I take them at their word that they're trying to harm me seriously or unalive me. I just I don't understand people. I really don't. So tell us about what this dog's wearing here. I see collars. I see a name collar. Tell me what the dog's got on.
Yes, sir. So obviously, we definitely keep a name tag on all of our collars in case our dogs do get in this predicament and they cross somebody's property line, and maybe we're not able to get a hold of them, or they find the dog before we're able to. All of the dogs we have are real. I want to call them family dogs almost. I mean, they play with our kids on a daily basis, you know. So other than the collar, she's got a cut collar on. I myself personally, I don't run a cut vest. Where we're at here in Florida, it is so hot right now that it's just not. It's not applicable for the dog to be wearing a vest. It could cause an overheating issue, and that's obviously what we're trying to avoid, is the dog getting hurt. Period. And unfortunately, this is the only time I have to be able to trap or catch these hogs is during the summer, you know, when it's not hunting season. Or we would hunt a little bit closer to winter, you know, but that's not the case that we have. It really, I think
I had
what's
my
really,
mic muted. I'm sorry.
I think what's puzzling me so much right now is the fact that he had shot our dog and then turned the collar off like he was trying to hide it, you know, like, to me that seemed like you know, you were wrong for doing it kind of deal. We have yet to hear any news about the dog being found, and obviously we're out of collar, which we're not that worried about, but at the same time, I mean, it, you know, it is ours, and we work for what we've got. So I know it's unchanged.
I've got a question about this property here. I'm looking at this gate, and that's a wild hog on the gate.
Yes, sir.
Is this an outfitter?
No, sir, it is not. So he actually has a man working for him that I met not too long ago in a similar situation to this on the other side of the property, where my catch dog had missed a hog and it had run and entered his property. about 100 yards. I got her called back out, and the man had met me there and showed me a video and kind of told me a little bit about what they do there. And which is now we understand why there's so many hogs there, and they're completely destroying this man's place that I have permission from to be there. They like the hogs, so they hand feed the hogs every afternoon. This man does that works for the man that owns this place. Hand feeds these hogs. So during the video that he showed me, he was hand feeding a boar hog about 300 pounds with like 3 inches of cutters on him, and he picked the camera up, and there was over 100 hogs in the field of this man's property right here. So pretty much they feed these hogs for entertainment and let them breed and pretty much give them a safe haven on their place, but leave them, unfenced to roam onto other landowners' properties and destroy it.
Well, that's
And
interesting. When I saw this picture, I picked up on that image right there,
yes, sir.
and I thought maybe it was a hog hunting outfit or something. I've got some friends that run a hog hunting outfit down in Georgia, and they would never shoot your dog. They run dogs themselves. But I picked up on that picture. Now, folks, let me say this right now. Let me be real clear about it. We're not showing this picture to try and dox anybody or anything. This is a picture that's out in the public. You can see this picture on Google Maps. But your comments are your comments. If you choose to get into the comment section and threaten people and you get arrested for it, that's on you. I don't recommend threatening anybody. I don't recommend doing harm to anybody. Matter of fact, I demand that you don't do it. You should never be threatened. We have a legal system. Legal system take its course. Somebody shot at people, and that's an interesting thing you just told me, Nicholas, about they're hand feeding the hogs and this and that. It sounds like to me he felt like he was defending his hog. What you said about the collar being turned off, like they're trying to hide the collar.
Yes, sir.
That's something that we see over and over and over again. People will either harm a dog or they'll take a dog and they'll remove the collar from the dog and cut the collar off. And they do it just for that reason, to hide either the live dog or the unalive dog, and to keep the owner from having it, which in itself is a different criminal offense. It's both criminal and civil. It's a good time to talk about this. You've hired an attorney, and you have an attorney that's dealing with this, correct?
Yes, sir. I actually contacted, and I'll say his name in case anybody has any questions or has some information they want to kind of get out there. So his law firm, his name is Bullock and Means law firm out of Williston. His name is Lot Bullock. And he's kind of going to be dealing with the legal side of this to, not only protect us in the case, not that we were doing anything wrong, but we want to make sure that this guy, we see some justice out of this. And we didn't post this to get famous or try to down the man that owns the property, or we posted this because we want people to be aware that there's people out here doing things like this, and especially in our area, it's just unacceptable. I mean, it's not something I wish anybody to go through.
It's unacceptable everywhere. Go ahead, Nicholas, and tell us what you want us to know here.
Lot's just a real hometown guy, man. I've known him for years. He does a lot of hunting himself, and also his brother actually owns a pretty big ranch here in Williston. And I just knew right off the rip he was the man that I needed to call for this, because he understands where we're coming from, and also, unbiased to the landowner part of it. He's on both sides of it and understands it. So to me, I felt like he would be the best one to deal with this. And I'm sure he's got, a partner. I think, he had mentioned that is also going to be in this. like I said, we just contacted him today, so we don't know a whole lot yet. But as they come in, of course, I want people to know about it, and I want people to know what's going to happen when people do things like this. I mean, that's why I'm willing to push this as far as I need to. Even if I've got to come out of pocket even more than we have, then we will. I mean, it's whatever we need to do to make sure that he doesn't do this again. Number one, and because next time it might not be a lucky miss. Next time a man might not go home to his kids and his family, because of a dog chasing, a hog, across this property. And
So when you told me you started taking incoming fire that you dropped to the ground, which was probably the very smartest thing you could do, your friend took off running. That's probably not the best thing.
no, sir. And I had told him that afterwards. You can't outrun the bullet.
No, you need to find cover, and then you need to find concealment immediately, and then try and move to cover if you can. But running out in the open, that's a good way to get picked off, unfortunately. But fortunately, nobody got hit, which is a good thing. I may have asked when the shooting was going on, was he shooting you in the daylight?
Yes, sir. It was daylight. It was all during the light. So, and it was really, I don't even know how to explain it. I was scared for my life. I'll tell you that.
I can imagine you were. You want to give a Cliff Notes version of what happened? Maybe you don't know what Cliff Notes mean. That was old school cheating when I was in school. Instead of reading the book, you read the Cliff's Notes. So
Right.
basically,
Sure.
a little summary on what happened.
Quick summary there. I mean, I don't know a quick summary without it happening. Pretty much, we were hunting on our property, that we've got permission to be on. It's right at 1,000 acres. Sometimes the dogs do go on to neighboring landowners' properties. We have their phone numbers and are able to contact them, and have contacted them in the past for situations like this. Unfortunately, this one landowner is the only landowner we don't have the contact information for, and we've been unable to get it. And I'm not really sure if that's because he's not around too often, or if they just kind of keep that place kind of hidden back there, or I'm not really sure why we haven't seen him or met him yet. But in the short term, we had a dog cross property line. On the dog's way back to us, after we had towed him off of the property, he was shot and killed. We're guessing the dog was killed. We don't know that 100%. We did hear the dog squall after the fourth or fifth shot.
You heard the dog squall out after, and there were how many shots fired? There were a whole bunch.
So there was 9 initially from what we believe was a handgun, and believing that is just off of my experience with firearms for the last 25 years that I've been able to handle them. We believe it was, a pistol of some sort. It was 9 shots. At that time, we had yelled at the landowner. I immediately called 911, which in turn, he then trunk a four-wheeler and drove to the property line and shot across the property line, towards us, at us. Not sure which one, but the pellets did hit the pine trees that were to the left and right of me, not 3 foot away.
That's unreal, man. That's unreal. It's unreal that he shoot at the dog, but it's really unreal he shoot at the people.
Yeah.
But you're
Yes,
telling
sir.
me that they're out there hand feeding hogs and letting them run loose on their property, and that the hogs are crossing the property line and running into other people's property, and that's why your property owner is wanting you to go out there and hunt and take care of these hogs, is because they're destroying his property.
Absolutely. And if the man would like to claim ownership of the hogs, that is more than fine. But he can also go ahead and get the damages paid for these landowners around him that are having to suffer because of him. And the damage is unreal. And I'll get some pictures of it and send it in to you. It is unbelievable what this place looks like.
So guys, look here. Nick's not playing around. Nick isn't playing around. He's got an attorney. Phone number is up here on the screen. Not sure how much it's going to cost. And people tell me this, say, well, he's the victim. He shouldn't have to hire an attorney. Well, you're partially right on that. the state is supposed to prosecute criminal offenses, but sometimes they need a little encouragement. And sometimes you need somebody on your side to make sure that number one, your rights are not violated, and number two, that the government does what they're supposed to do. That's why I tell people in these cases, you need an attorney.
We appreciate that.
But if you got any questions about whether this is legitimate or whatever, contact information's right there on the screen. If you know something, let's hear about it. You heard what they'll saying about see something, say something? Somebody knows what happened.
Absolutely.
Somebody knows who pulled that trigger, and somebody knows where that dog is. So where do we go from here, Nicholas?
I mean, I definitely want everybody to know. Obviously, I've contacted the landowner that's got me permission to hunt his place. He's also backing me 100%. This isn't the first time this has happened. We had a similar ordeal with another set of guys about 8 years ago with the same story exactly. Unfortunately, it was 3 of his dogs. They did end up finding them. But what I'm getting at is this is a repeat pattern for this man. Of course, we try to keep our dogs out of there. We do the best that we can to do it. We know the man doesn't like them on there. We do everything in our power to keep it from going on there. Sometimes, I can't tell the dog no. No matter how hard I try, and the property line is. And in those instances, I wish that we were able to just contact figure it out a lot different. Unfortunately,
I'm going to show you what some of these rocket scientists are saying on social media. Nicholas did the right thing. He went to a lawyer for legal advice. If you're getting your legal advice from these real intelligent folks here on the internet, you're getting what you pay for. So let's check this out here. We got a guy here, Todd Allen Mack, got 6 friends, I think, or no, 3 friends. Said a dog comes on his property chasing wildlife, it gets shot. So, that doesn't sound real legal. Be proud of it. If you're going to say things like this, use your name.
I've read some of those comments. I don't have much.
There's one thing I can definitely say. Social media has not made the blind see, but it has definitely give the dumb the ability to speak.
It's in replying to all these people.
There's no reason to.
There isn't. I mean, I can't make you believe what I believe. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong either. I can tell you that I tried the best of my ability for this not to happen in the first place. Unfortunately, it happened, and it's going to happen again if we don't get it taken care of. The people that just don't know, they don't know, and I'll pray for them, and hopefully one day that they'll figure out, how things are. A lot of these people's probably never even been hunting a day in their life, and they have no idea how any of this works, conservation-wise or landowner-wise or any of it. And hopefully one day they will. I mean, that's all I could say. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the situation. We hired the attorney just because I'm not an attorney, and obviously I don't know the legal factors to everything that needs to be done with this. I understand that the man's got money from what I'm seeing business wise. That's fine with us. It doesn't scare us a bit. I mean, we want to make sure that this is the last time that this happens, and we've got a lot of important people backing us on this too. So. And we'll see who the truth will come out one day on who did it. And somebody tried to take our lives, and that's the big point in this. You know, I almost didn't come home to my newborn and and kids and family because of a man being selfish. And I don't even know what he was thinking. I don't know how he was at. I've never thought like that, obviously, but the man needs some help. And something's got to be done about this.
Yeah, I get you there. That's the big part of your story, is that not only was the dog hurt, but we know the dog was hurt because you heard the dog yelp out. We actually don't know beyond that what happened.
No, sir.
But we do know that the collar went dead and nobody met you out at the gate and said, hey, this is what happened. And we also know that shots were fired in your direction and pellets hit the trees behind you. That's big. That's big.
Absolutely.
That's a crime. I don't care where you're coming from. That's a crime. I'm so glad that you've retained an attorney. And I'm so glad the attorney's in with all feet. And we're going to see what happens. Like I said, the wheels of justice turn so slow. I'm going to say it one more time. Folks out here watching, folks out here listening, folks out here that are reading the stories. Don't threaten these people. Don't make threats. And don't threaten Nicholas either. If you get in the comment section and threaten Nicholas, he's already got a lawyer hired. He's coming for you. Trust me on that. But don't threaten the people that allegedly did the shooting or whatever. Don't threaten these people either. There's a justice system. We got a legal system. We're going to use the legal system. Am I right, Nicholas?
Absolutely, 100% down to a T. There's no retaliation on my end, period. Besides the justice system, we'll get it figured out. And I won't stop until it does get figured out. Absolutely, 100%. And that's kind of where we're at on it as well. And something a deputy had said as well. If the man was in fear for his life because of the dog, or it was harassing some kind of livestock of his, or if those are his hogs, whatever the deal may be, I think an innocent man would have called the law and explained to him that they just shot a hunt dog on their land because he was aggressive, or whatever that may be or consist of. The reasoning is, and we would love to hear it. But unfortunately, that's not what happened here, and we've yet to get any kind of explanation from anybody ourselves.
Yeah, I get that. And then the collar going, dead for whatever reason.
Right.
I can't say that it was turned off because I don't know. But I do know it quit sending a signal.
Correct.
So with the collar stopping sending a signal, that's not the actions of a person that feels like that their actions were justified. Somebody had to interact with that. That gun didn't run out there and do its thing by itself. Somebody had to interact with it and make it do it. And somebody definitely made it shoot at you. So we're going to wrap this thing up, and I want to give you a chance to say your message to the audience.
Yeah. So what I've got is, and I've kind of explained it already. We're putting this out there to kind of make everybody aware, because this involves everybody. If it wasn't me, it could have been you. And we don't want that to happen to somebody else. Like, it was the most terrifying thing I've been through so far. And like I said, I tried everything in my power that I could do to keep something like this from happening, and the rest was in the hands of that man, unfortunately, whoever he was. But I'll tell you that we will get answers, and we will make something happen out of this. Regardless, I mean, there will be a lesson out of this learned by somebody. And that's all we can hope for is that, yeah, that's kind of all we want. There's no bringing the dog back, And like I say, I don't know their protocols, but I don't want to speak a whole lot on it. I'm just hoping that they continue with the investigation and they do it to their fullest ability and to figure out and really get down to what happened here. So it doesn't happen again for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm glad that you made it home to that newborn baby and your family.
So thank
That's
you.
the most important thing. Nobody should be shot at for being in the woods. Nobody. Even if you had crossed the property line and were trespassing, that's still not a deadly force incident. And you're telling me there's a barbed wire fence out there. You would know if you crossed the line because you'd had to cross the barbed wire fence.
100%. I think in total, at the last minute of us yelling and screaming, we were what they said. I think it was 70 yards from his fence line was the closest that we had ever gotten. And before that, it was about 150 when we were trying to call the dog out. So we were nowhere near property. Our persons wise, the thought of even crossing without having a law enforcement officer there was not. It wasn't even an option. Uh,
Well, it sounds like to me you're trying to do things right. I'm sorry this happened to you. I can't tell you how happy I am that you got an attorney.
yes.
That's step one. Anytime something like this happens, whether you're the victim or whether you're the one that's accused of it, step one, get a lawyer. The man that goes into the courtroom without a lawyer has a fool for a client. Now, I can assure you of that. Folks, this has been Todd Edwards with Tick Bite NC. I've been interviewing Nicholas Frazier for the Don't Shoot Hunting Dogs channel. And you'll be available on Facebook and other places as well. So we just want to get Nicholas's story out there. We want people to know what happened, and we want people to know that none of this is legal in Florida. You don't shoot people for being in the woods, especially unarmed people, and you don't shoot dogs just for chasing game. You don't do it. We'll see what happens. Nicholas, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me and hearing my story and sharing it. Also, we really appreciate that, and that's all we could ask for is that people at least know about this. Thank you,
Have
sir.
a good one, Nicholas.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.